Hi, this is Allie with the Perception Trainers, author of The Perception Diet, and today I'm here to talk to you about ego, or the shadow side, or your saboteur voice in your head, or that negative voice that tells you to go eat ice cream when you're on a diet. And the reason that I wanted to talk about this today is because I feel like pretty well in every circle that exists, so in the life coaching world, in the spiritual circles, in health and fitness, in self-improvement, any kind of circle really ever, there's this idea that we have this good part of ourselves, so this virtuous part of ourselves that's spiritual, or that's able to eat a good diet, or that's able to follow a program or whatever, and then we all have this bad side of ourselves that's like the ego, our pride, our fear, our anger, our, like I said, that voice in your head that tells you to eat ice cream when you know that, eating a plate of steamed veggies is going to make you feel better. And I feel like we need to have a talk about this because I feel like we are progressing as a society, and we are growing up in a lot of ways, and I believe that our consciousness is growing up in a lot of ways, and I think that this subject needs to be talked about because I feel that the old paradigm of you having this part of yourself that's this bad part of yourself, this ego part of yourself, this saboteur part of yourself that's different from the light part of yourself, or the virtuous part of yourself, or the spiritual part of yourself, or whatever. It served us to a point, and a lot of spiritual teachers especially still talk about eradicating the ego, or getting rid of the ego, or dying to the ego, and all of these things. And I think that I'm not here to say that is wrong, that thinking is incorrect. What I am here to say is that I think that in order for us to move forward, in order for you individually to feel better about yourself, and to feel better about your progress and your point in this life, and all that stuff, is I think that we need to gain a new, deeper understanding of this dark portion of ourselves. And I think that it's important, mostly for you to feel better about yourself, because I feel that, number one, when we sit and we think that there's this part of ourselves that is ego, or that is shadow, or that is darkness, or that we need to fight or get rid of, it doesn't feel very good. And it doesn't make us feel powerful. It doesn't make us feel empowered. And like I said, I think that we're ready to kind of grow up a little bit, and we're ready to take a stab at looking at this in a new way. So I understand that if what I'm about to say sounds really strange to you, or if you need to take a few days or a few while to integrate this information, and maybe just test it in your heart before you reject it or accept it, because it is a bit of a new way of thinking. It's a new way of looking at this very old, very thing we kind of thought we had sorted out. So what I've been talking to you about over the last couple of videos, giving you the tool to, bring your negative emotions into the light, giving you the tool to what to do if you feel like you're in resistance, and talking to you about striving, and talking to you about all of these kind of things that we run into. Essentially what I was doing was I was giving you tools to deal with your ego. Because what I truly believe, and what I have found to be true for myself and true for other people, is that there is no actual side of yourself that is not good. There is no portion of you that is not light. And there is no portion of you that is not divinity, or perfect, or any of these things, okay? And there's no portion of yourself that you need to get rid of. There's no portion of yourself that you need to deny. The truth is that what your ego is, or what your saboteur is, or what that voice in your head that gets you to do something that's self-destructive is truly a portion of your light, a portion of this natural part of yourself that you have decided, because of culture, or because of your life experience, or because of whatever, that you have decided is not good and needs to go into the shadow. Okay? So it's not that that part of you needs to get eradicated. It's not that that part of you needs to be denied or tried to shunned or any of that stuff. That's exactly what got you into this place where you fight with it in the first place. What really needs to happen is all of that stuff needs to be brought into the light of love. Okay, so I'm going to give you an example from my own life. So I've been a very intuitive person my entire life. I've been a very sensitive person my entire life. So as a child, say, I remember walking into church, for instance, and I could feel what was going on with absolutely every single person in the church. Okay, so I could walk into a room and be totally fine, and then all of a sudden I'm having this huge emotional, physical, mental breakdown because of picking up on everybody else's energy, picking up on everybody else's circumstance, picking up on everybody else's thought patterns. And because I was so young and because no one in my circle knew what that was or what was going on with me, I thought I was like having a mental breakdown every time I went to church. I thought there was something really wrong with me, that, you know, I was emotionally unstable. I really thought that I was emotionally unstable, emotionally way too reactive, and there was something really wrong with me. So instead of me thinking, okay, maybe there's something going on here, or, you know, and of course as a 5-year-old, I don't know what 5-year-old's like, maybe there's something deeper going on here. So at that age, with what I knew or whatever, all I knew to do was just start trying to shove my intuition and my emotions into the shadow. So I tried to suppress them. I tried to get rid of it. I tried all of these things to shut it down. And that was my defense against, you know, my hypersensitivity. And so in so doing, by shoving all of that stuff into the shadow and trying to get rid of it so hard, it actually made me a very, very judgmental person. So what happened was, my intuition was still working, because you can't turn something, you know, natural to yourself off. So instead of my intuition coming from a heart-based place, coming from a love-based place, my shoving it into the shadow, my trying to get rid of it, my trying to, you know, move away from it because of the wild emotional swings that it caused, I stayed being very intuitive, so I could still walk into a room and pretty much pick up on whatever was going on with everybody. But because I had closed my heart down, because I was trying to shove it into the shadow, I became very judgmental. So I picked up on this person struggling with their weight, say, and I could pick up and tune in to the fact that they were really struggling with their body image, and I would walk into them and I would think they were ugly, and I would think that they were awful, and I would be judging them. Or this person, say, is struggling with their intellect, and I would automatically think that that person's an idiot, you know? And I thought there was something really wrong with me, like I was this huge, judgmental, terrible human being that just couldn't love anybody because I'm constantly just like picking everybody apart. And you know, I thought that was my ego. I thought that was my shadow side. I thought that was that dark portion of myself that I needed to get rid of. And so for years I tried, you know, I really tried to stop being judgmental. I tried to love people. I tried blah, blah, blah. And it never worked. I was never able to stop being really judgmental until I, one day, just in meditation, decided, like, what if I stop shoving this away? What if I try to stop getting rid of this part of myself? What if I try to stop rejecting this thing inside of me? And I just let it come into the light. So what I did was I did essentially that meditation that I gave you. I invited it to come into the light. I invited my judgmentalness to come into the light, and I loved it, and I embraced it, and I said, okay, thank you, judgment. I believe that you're here for a purpose, and I believe that you're trying to show me something, and what is it? Why are you here? How can I help you? I love you, and I accept you, and I'm not going to try and make you go away anymore. And literally in that moment, I was able to see that my judgmental nature was simply coming from my intuition that had been shoved into the shadows because I was so afraid of how I was being judged based on my emotional reactions. And so it all started to unravel, and I realized that I'm not a judgmental person. I don't have this ego that needs to be eradicated. I was wounded, and I had made a decision in myself to shove that portion of myself into the shadow. And by bringing it into the light, by loving it, by accepting it, by giving it space, it transformed itself back into love, back into what it had always meant to be, Okay? So this is what I'm saying, is that your ego, those things that make you angry or make you judgmental or make you depressed or make you a victim or make you, act in a way that isn't loving towards yourself and isn't loving towards others, those are the parts of yourself that you need to love the most, that you need to bring into the light the most. And as you do this, the real kind of cool part of this is really, like, as you progress into bringing these portions of yourself into the light, loving these parts of yourself that you pretty much up until now have rejected and have not loved in yourself, that duality consciousness that we all have, that voice in our head, that we have the side of us that's like the angel and the devil on the shoulder. We have this angel that's telling us, eat vegetables, love people, do. And then we have this devil on our shoulder that's like, that person's an idiot and we hate him and I'm just going to eat ice cream and screw the world. And, we struggle between which voice do we listen to. And what I'm telling you as this is, as you bring this stuff into the light, as you allow yourself to love the portions of yourself that you have previously rejected, previously labeled your ego, your shadow, whatever, you start to unify your consciousness. This is what's going to happen. Because again, you're taking out those foundations of self-loathing, which divides you, okay? And which causes the belief that there's this negative part of yourself and this light part of yourself, this dark part of yourself and this light part of yourself. And that's what creates that duality consciousness, this, I feel like I got to turn my will over to God because my will is bad. Well, okay, that's not really what's happening. It's that you've created duality consciousness within yourself based on your idea that there's a part of you that needed to be shoved into the shadows. So as you bring it into the light, as you love it, as you embrace your negative, your shadow, your ego, blah, 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 send it love, send it light, it starts to reintegrate back into you. And you stop having this duality consciousness. You stop having these wars with yourself in your mind about what you should do and what you should say and who you should be. And you start to actually come into your center. And this is what they're talking about when they talk about unity consciousness. It's not that you get rid of something inside of you that needs to be rejected or eradicated. It's that you bring all portions of yourself back together through love. And that is how you raise your consciousness. That's how you unite your consciousness. That's how you stop this struggle of, there's this part of myself that's bad and this part of myself that's good and I need to get rid of this thing and I need help and I need someone to, I need God to take this away or whatever. You really do start to end that struggle. And it's a process for most of us because there's a lot of things that most of us have decided are bad about ourselves that needs to be rejected. And it's just that practice of catching yourself when you feel that yucky emotion like we've talked about. That when you feel that negative feeling, when you feel that part, that resistance or striving or you want to reject yourself, and just stopping and loving. Stopping and loving, stopping and loving. And as you do this, you're just going to be amazed at how simple your life becomes and how easy your life becomes and how easy it becomes to do the things that are good and nourishing for yourself, how easy it becomes to love yourself, how easy it becomes to love other people. And you notice that, this is your natural way of being and there's nothing wrong with you and there's nothing that's ever been wrong with you and there's nothing that's ever been needed to be rejected. It's all just needed love, okay? So take a moment, digest that. Your ego is not something that's outside of you that needs to get taken away. It's not edging God out. It's you. It's a part of you that's been shoved into the shadow, and it's good. You've learned from it. Okay, you've had the experience you needed to have with that. And if you're ready to let go of that, and you're ready to get rid of this dual mind and this dual consciousness and this struggle, try this process. Love it. Love that part of yourself that you've been rejecting. Even if you can just like it for a bit. See what happens. Okay? Any questions, comments, concerns? Totally disagree with me, totally agree with me, that's whatever. Down below, and I'll see you in the next video, okay? Thanks.